Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
So what was the question? How am I?
I mean, I'm past it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I guess you could tell me how you are,
Me
but
too.
I feel like we'll piece it together.
No, I'm past it too. I'm past it too, Jeff.
We're
I'm
good,
cracking
right?
open this drink.
Crack it open.
Yep.
I want to hear
I've just
it.
been
I want to fucking hear it.
taming a little lion. That's what I've been up to.
Go on.
That's it. We have the feral cat.
That's
I've kept people
right.
updated.
Precious baby biscuit.
Yeah. It's a little turd. It doesn't let us touch it still. It hisses.
It's gonna take
But
it'll take a minute.
It'll eat our food. It'll play. It'll relax in our office. Yeah, no, it'll take a minute. It'll be fine.
You're like, it will make drugs.
Yep.
It's got a little cat meth lab in it.
Right. It's a real little scumbag. It's a real scumbag cat.
Just smoking cigarettes. Where did you get little tiny cat cigarettes?
Oh, little cat cigarettes. That's adorable.
Just little itty bitty
Aw.
kitten cigarettes.
Oh, smoking so cool.
So
So
what a-
little and cool.
What a cool baby.
Yeah.
Who's the cool baby that burned me with their
He's
cigarette?
a cool little baby kitty. Oh. Oh.
It's got
I
a
guess
little, got a little motorcycle.
I guess this is the podcast.
Honestly, if this is Hypecast, if we're just getting hype about like creating a fictional scumbag kitten, I'm 100% in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, hold on. I can do this. I can do what Tom does. Hello, welcome to Hypecast,
Hypecast.
the show where we get hyped about stuff and things. I'm one of your co-hosts, David Bell.
I'm the new co-host forever, Jeff May.
Yep.
It's
Jeff May.
canon. It's
Yeah,
you know
canon.
me from Tom and Jeff Watch Batman.
Yeah. Tom is moving. We tweeted out about it. He's not dead. No one killed Tom. He's moving. And so I've sort of I had to like kind of shove him I a little bit. I had to be like, yeah, you need to not do stuff during this transitional period. I think he felt bad because he'd I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's
It
like,
doesn't
man,
matter what Tom feels. He needed to take the time off.
Yeah,
And
here's the thing: is he's moving far and he has things, and there's a lot to do there. So maybe let some people pick up the slack and take care of it. Like,
Right.
yeah,
No word on the exact address. I'll share that, publicly once.
yeah. Plus,
We
you and
know.
you and me on a Hypecast. This is a good 4-hour show.
Yeah. I wanted you specifically for this because you messaged me and you're like, anything I can do to help. I had already emailed you asking you to do this.
Oh, really?
Because because you go to the Comic-Cons?
I was at the Comic-Con, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of Comic-Con trailers. In fact, this week we're not going to do any news stories because there's just so many trailers. I even left some trailers off. I saw that Oppenheimer trailer came out, but I don't know if you've seen that trailer. There's nothing there. And we're no doubt
It's a
going to be
Nolan
talking
trailer.
about that fucking...
Unless it's a trailer with Batman in it, a Nolan trailer is just like, from the twisted mind, but it's really just, they're like, it's a fucking Christopher Nolan movie. You'll see it unless there's a pandemic in which he will then just release it and put you in danger anyway.
Right. There's also going to be like 6 more trailers for it, so it's like, all right, I'll wait until like teasers are... whatever. Fucking
like,
whatever.
If it's a Nolan movie, it's like, it should just be like, you fucking know who you are. You're going to see it.
Yeah, you're going to see this fucking movie I made.
Yeah.
I'm Christopher Nolan.
That's what trailers should be, by the way.
What trailers should be?
Like, trailers should be like the Alien trailer, the one where it's just like in space, no one can hear you. Like, that's what trailers should be. It's like, there's a movie called Alien. There's a fucking alien in it. There's going to be screaming.
Right.
Fucking figure it out. Go see
hear
it.
me. Hear me out. Gray screen. Every trailer, gray screen with black text, just briefly describing the film.
Yeah, title
Silent.
and then genre, and then maybe like who's in it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all you need. We should thank some producers before we get to
I'm in.
all right, you want to do the second half or the first half?
I'll do the second half.
Yeah, you will. Big thank you to Hombre. That's my grizzled voice.
That's your
apparently.
grizzled voice. Is
Hombre.
a child
Hombre.
that lost a balloon.
Yeah. Thank you to Heathcliff's Helping Handfuls. Thank you to the conveniently placed self-destruct button on the top of every baby's head. Thank you to Samuel Beckett's Donuts and Mortgage Emporium. Thank you to Snapper Carr Punches God in the Dick.
He sure does.
Thank you to @NerdNumbers. Thank you to Mike the Lurker. Yeah. Thank you to Dracula the Bus Driving Vampire.
Ooh.
Thank you to Brockaway Loves the Meat Millie. And thank you to skipping right to the Knife Boot. David Knife Boot Henson, thank you.
All right. Shout out to Grumblebee, Screaming
Thank you.
Horse Pyramid.
Thank you.
Look, Ma, I'm on a podcast.
Beautiful.
Shout out to Seismic Charge Noise.
Bwom.
Shout out to Deborah is awesome, Barbara is great, and Cancer can go to hell.
Thank you. You got this next one? This next one?
Let's see. Munonota, Pneumono Ultra Microscopic Silivolcanosis Anti-Disestablishmentarianism Jones.
Ooh, that was very good. I was going to help you.
I feel like I got
but you
most
didn't
of
need
it.
help.
I got like an 85 on that one.
Yeah.
Shout out to the baby from Eraserhead. That's an eerie sponsor to have. Shout out to Chiz Lily Tits.
Of course.
Shout out to These 7 Bees.
Thank you.
And shout out to Breezy Ruizy.
Thank you. Jeff,
Thank you
I'm so glad to have you here.
Why?
I don't know. I never get to podcast with you.
We don't do solo shows.
No, we don't.
Too dangerous.
It's nice.
It's too dangerous. Right? Yeah, of course it's nice.
Yeah. I'm enjoying myself.
I'm enjoying myself as well. And you know, it's funny too because we got some trailers to discuss. And
why do I hear? Oh, that's so weird. Sorry, I'm not going to edit this out, or rather, Tom's not gonna. I have OBS open as a redundancy, and OBS does this thing where every now and then it'll play an ad, which is
Jesus Christ.
Which is not good when you're
for what
trying
it is.
to record audio off your desktop.
That's some silly shit.
Yeah, it's very silly. I think it was OBS. I don't know what else it could have been.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Leave it in.
It is weird. Listen, Tom's going to be editing this. He can do whatever he wants.
If somehow the ad makes it onto the audio, we can charge those people.
Yeah, good call.
We'll just go. We'll break their arms. Man, I gotta be honest, man. When people were like Marvel fatigue and everyone's like, "That's not a thing," I'm like, man, I think it might be. Like
Marvel. Absolutely a thing. Like, someone. So I wish I could credit them. We did a review of Thor, and we were very fatigued of Thor 4. Which isn't to say there wasn't fun moments in that, but did you see it?
I did,
Jeffrey?
and I agree.
Yeah. Someone messaged me, and again, I wish I could credit you. I'm sorry. I just don't have your message in front of me.
Don't like you.
And pointed out that it's really what it is that the post-credit scenes in early Marvel used to be like, oh, it's Thor's hammer, right? It would be like, oh, dun, 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 Thor's hammer is found. And then the next movie would be Thor.
Mm-hmm. Whereas
now it's like, hi, I'm Elf Patton Oswalt. And then we don't know what the fuck that means for like 10 more movies.
I think
like it's the post-credit scenes aren't hyping people for the next thing. It's just like, here's an idea that might get paid off. And now we're moving on.
Here's what I'm going to say from a comics fan perspective is that it's because like in the phase 1, it was all very generic fan service of people being like, I've heard of Thor. And now it's just like, here's Hercules or here's fucking Adam Warlock.
Right.
And shit like that. And it's just like, and that's the one where it's for me. Like that's where like the post-credit scenes are for me. You know, where it's like, oh, like Eternals had a Star Fox sneak in there. And
it's getting like more niche.
But it's also, you'll notice that they're taking generic characters, but they're taking like people that are very zeitgeisty.
Right.
You know, because it was like, who was it? Harry Styles was playing Star Fox. And then with Hercules, with Thor, we got Brett Goldstein.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Brett Goldstein. Mm-hmm. He did like the second mint on card, I think. It was like the first or second mint on card. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's starting to all fall apart, obviously, is the other thing. There's a giant baby man that broke out of the earth. No one's been talking about it, and that's weird.
That is insane.
You know?
Like, that would have, the cataclysms that would have happened with that to me, where I'm just like, you guys just, it came up through the core of the planet.
Right, and I've seen people trying to justify it of being like, it's such a wild world at this point that the people are desensitized to anything happening.
No.
And it's like, okay, well, if that was true, do you want that? Do you want that to be the universe where no one cares because everything is out of control? You know what I mean? Where it's like, that's not a good plot point.
Yeah,
that everybody is desensitized and depressed and no one cares.
Yeah, they need to take hints of Astro City, where like there needs to be one show that's like a Marvels kind of thing, which is taken. You need to do one of these things where it's from the perspective of a powerless person.
Yeah, you really do.
An Astro City or a Powers, or like or not Power, Powers, but like Rick Jones from like the Hulk and stuff as like that sidekick character. Like you need somebody to have the scope of danger, or else we're just like regular people. We're only seeing them when they're getting destroyed by like a huge battle.
Yeah, I would argue the Marvel movies have gotten farther and farther from that too, to the point that like characters that used to be characters we liked that were played the everyman, like Gwyneth Paltrow's character is now just in an Iron Man suit, right? Jane Foster is now Thor. So like they're even just giving powers to people who didn't have powers.
I mean, those are just plot points from comics as well. And like,
I'm sure
Gwyneth Paltrow is just like, all right, so I'm done with these movies now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's totally fine. Like, put me in the suit. That's her exclamation point at the end of her run.
For sure. But it is like everybody's just a fucking god now, that it's like, it's all the same old issues. It's just so ramped up now. This is all to say that we're getting into the Comic-Con trailers.
It's actually why I really liked Hawkeye.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Hawkeye series. I had some issues with the last episode, but it's why I'm like, the last episode made me scared for... I assume you liked Hawkeye the same reason I did, because he was a person.
Yeah, because he's a person and he's getting the shit kicked out of him all the time.
And that's why my favorite Marvel anything has been the Daredevil series. Yeah. And it's also because he's a person. And that's why I got really upset in Hawkeye, where Kingpin is like superhuman in the last episode, practically.
Kingpin,
and it was like, what the fuck, man?
Here's the thing, is that Kingpin is essentially like a bodybuilder. Like,
I know, in the comics that's more close to him in the comics, right?
Yeah, much more of like, he's a powerhouse.
Right. I would just say I didn't care about Kingpin until Vincent D'Onofrio took the role and played it the way he did.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So like I guess that's what I like about Daredevil, is it grounded everything in a way that was kind of doable, Obviously, like, what's his fuck? Bullseye is superhuman. Like, there's some stuff they couldn't, there's fucking Elektra comes back from the dead.
All the Daredevil stuff, they did a really good job of pairing it up with comic storylines. Like, they did such a better job of doing it than like a lot of the other MCU big budget stuff. Like, I feel like the stuff that's on the ground does a much better job of relating a comics property, just because it has there's less stakes, maybe, where it's not $1 billion movie, like.
Yeah, someone pointed out Hell's Kitchen is like a couple blocks. Like, it's not that big, which is very funny when you think about Daredevil just protecting, like, a small part of a city.
Yeah.
But, like, that's why I'm a little nervous, because some of these trailers bring him back, and I know one of the announcements is they're bringing back Daredevil, and it's just like, you better get all the same people behind the camera, because there was a reason we liked that show. And if Disney just makes it another Disney Plus show, I
think they're going to do a good job. I think if you look at how they did Moon Knight,
I haven't seen Moon Knight yet, but it looked good.
Not that Moon Knight is particularly good. It's very middle of the road, but they Disney Plus, for the most part, they know what they're doing, as in like they're like, I think it's Kevin Feige primarily, like, that knows Like, okay, this character needs to have these things. And with Daredevil, it has to be street. Like, even in the comics, he very rarely runs into like overpowered characters. It's almost always him dealing with street level bullshit and like organized crime. That's why the Kingpin is his foil.
So for me, it's more of that. I actually do have faith in Kevin Feige and his understanding, because obviously I'm scared of what Disney's gonna do.
Well, I'm scared of them going.
So they've been rolling out like their violent content on Disney Plus, and so to me that says they're gearing up to do another violent, gritty Daredevil. So I'm not too worried. It's just like, they could fuck it up.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you're like, I'm afraid of what Disney Plus is going to do, and our first thing is literally what Disney Plus is going to do.
Yeah. So our first thing is I Am Groot. And this is the Groot mini series shorts. It's like a series of shorts
with Baby Groot.
Which I feel like we are kind of like this should have been out a year or two ago, right?
Minimum.
Like Groot's not a baby anymore.
No, he's like a young adult.
Yeah, it feels like they really dragged ass on this.
I shouldn't hate this, but I totally hate this.
Who is behind it? Is it James Gunn or is it someone else?
I would assume it's probably not James Gunn, because what they're
I don't
doing
know.
is
I'll look it up.
This is clearly a toy commercial in a way.
Yeah,
that
I
we
mean,
haven't
it's
seen
listed
in a
as
while.
animated series, so it's not even listed as a live action. It's so CGI that's just.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that they're keeping it, although that's probably so they can pay people less.
Yep, there's no. Yeah, James Gunn's name is nowhere. He's producing it. That's it. And it apparently Bradley Cooper's also in it. So we're gonna get
some Rocket.
Some Rocket.
Is Vin Diesel playing the voice?
What's that?
Is Vin Diesel in it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Groot. They did use him. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be. I'm a little more optimistic about it, only in the sense that Baby Groot, is like notorious for like going off on his own little, he runs off. That's the whole deal.
Because these are like mini.
Yeah, and so I assume that's what it's going to be. Is times where like they land on a planet and Groot runs off.
Yeah, these are shorts, right? It's a series of shorts as opposed to like a show.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to matter in terms of plot. I think it's just going to be fun. And it's probably going to be aimed more at kids, right?
Clearly.
Yeah. And so I think for what it is trying to be, I guess I don't have any problem with that, right? Where it's like, yeah, this is all kind of for kids. It should, I get, like, obviously it's not, but like it's supposed to be family friendly entertainment, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it makes sense to have things specifically aimed at kids.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I don't know, the narrative, the world doesn't really matter in terms of protecting anything. Like they can have their own fucking Muppet babies. Is my point.
Well,
where it's like,
this is,
fuck it.
I was gonna say this is the Baby Yoda show in the Marvel universe. Like if they made a show that was just Baby Yoda doing little shit, I feel like it would kind of get old. But also at the same time, they have professionals working on this. Like it'll probably be clever. But
I don't think it's for me or anything.
Yeah.
Like I get why you're not into this for sure.
It's like it sort of reminds me of like do you remember that movie The Happy Time Murders?
Yeah, I do. I sure do.
And it was like the idea, great, but the execution was just the joke was that the puppets were saying fuck.
Yeah, it was. And so like the original production art for Happy Time Murders. And the knowledge that it was, what's his name, son?
Brian Henson. It was Brian Henson.
Yeah, it's Brian Henson. It was like, oh my God, this looks so cool. It's all noir and shit. Like they presented it as a noir film. And then when it came out, it was just a broad comedy with, look, the Muppets are jizzing.
Yeah.
It was like, man,
and
this
that was
is
the
a bummer.
Punchline. The unfortunate part is the inclusion of Melissa McCarthy was a double-edged sword because she was clearly the best part of that movie. But I know she had a lot of creative input with her husband on the movie.
Right. It's the thing where
that's the bad part. Like she was great performance-wise, but her existence in production is not.
Right, it's like bringing Will Smith in. It's like Will Smith has talked about how he was glad he wasn't in The Matrix, and he's not wrong. Because if Will Smith had become part of the Matrix series, it would have become a Will Smith movie.
Yeah.
The same way, Melissa McCarthy is the same way, where it's just like, it's not, I don't have a problem with what they do. They're very funny. They're very entertaining. But if they're in a movie that's supposed to be a certain tone, and they are not of that tone, then it changes the movie in a way that might ruin it. You know,
that's the
had
note.
Will Smith been in The Matrix, it would have been a disaster.
Yeah, that's the note I'm getting with Groot is like, you're gonna do the one thing and it'll be funny the first 3 times, and then after a while I'm gonna be like, because he doesn't understand.
Right, Groot was sort of. I get the impression that it really is one note, because Groot was a blast in the first Guardians. And then they've sort of just been trying to find new ways to make Groot entertaining. And God, James Gunn, very smart idea is to start Groot as a baby and have him be a teenager, and then hit all these stages, because it gives Groot stuff to do. Otherwise, it is very like one note, right? It's just this tree that says "I am Groot," and it's like, okay, got it. So I think Baby Groot, they've sort of gotten all they could out of Baby Groot.
Well, they're going back to the lemon to juice it, so let's see. The next one, however, I'm very excited about.
Yeah, so we covered the first She-Hulk trailer on Hypecast, and I did not have good things to say. I thought it did not look... I was more of like... It was more like the trailer was like, look at this lady, she can't have it all, and that was it. This trailer, I am way more excited for this now.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here, and the two things I see in this that are very important is, it has the fourth wall breaking that was introduced in John Byrne's run, because John Byrne did an excellent run in the 80s of She-Hulk, which is very good and can kind of give us, I guess a good way to look at it would be like the Fleabag kind of existence here.
Right, and I like how they handle it, where fucking Bruce Banner has no idea what she's doing.
Yeah.
Does she have any crossover with fucking Deadpool? Is Deadpool going to be involved in She-Hulk?
In this show? Probably not, but
that's a shame.
I think they've bumped into each other before, and I think they've even... Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But it takes the thematic points of Dan Slott's run, which is a perfect run of comics, where she is essentially the official lawyer to the superpowered community, and that run is so
she's
good.
Harvey Birdman.
Yeah. If you guys ever get a chance to read the Dan Slott run of She-Hulk, it's so perfect. It's just great. Like, this is done very well. I'm not fully iffy on the part where like they're making it seem like she's stronger than the Hulk.
I don't mind that. I just don't care.
Yeah, well, there's a litmus that no character is stronger than the Hulk. And the point,
that's interesting.
And the point with, the Jessica character here is that, Jennifer Walters. Jessica Walters is a totally different, important person.
Different person, yeah.
The Jennifer, her point was that she wasn't yet quite the Hulk, but she was able to keep her wits, her brains, and her legal practice. So she kind of was allowed to be more of like a celebrity version of a Hulk, that while she's not the storm that the Incredible Hulk is with the same raging powers, she's actually a much more useful existence.
Yeah. This is being created by how do you pronounce this last name? Jessica Gao? Gao.
I think so. Yeah, Gao.
Which it should be noted, she's the writer of the Pickle Rick episode of Rick and Morty.
There you go.
And so that's for me, that means a lot, because that as much as people are sick of, are probably sick of the Pickle Rick stuff, that was a very good episode.
Yeah, it's
right?
not the episode's fault. It's so good.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. Yeah.
I really want this to have more of an adult tone like that. And the fact that, so this teases Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And so Daredevil, again, is an adult show, right?
And he's an attorney.
And I guess, What?
And he's also an attorney,
He also, yeah, you're right.
which
Shit.
is the important thing and probably why he's involved in this.
I've also heard that Spider-Man is going to start existing with Daredevil more. Like they're talking about them being the more street level.
Yeah, that
Like
that would make sense,
they're
yeah.
gonna bring. I don't know if that's true. My point being that what I'm hoping is that what I was circling again with Daredevil is I hope they don't make Daredevil more family friendly. I hope they are bold enough to do less family friendly content to match Daredevil.
I think,
I kind of want She-Hulk to be that.
I think
one of
something like
those.
I Am Groot is a good example of how they're probably going to do what you want because they're also making the offerings for
Exactly.
children. Yeah.
So I'm really hoping this will be very adult, very weird, very funny, and I'm also kind of hoping that they don't try to reform Abomination. That's one of those things that Marvel has this bad habit of doing, which is taking villains and then being like, "See, they're all right. We love them now." And it's like, I don't know, Loki's kind of a mass murderer, but sure, I guess we love him now. And there's they're circling that, I feel like, in this trailer.
He was already a pre-reformed character because he was doing what he could to prevent the scourge of the Hulk. Like, he was like signing up, like the government signed him up.
He murders cops. Like, he murders civilians. He murders
also,
people. He goes on his killing spree.
I would say that the legality aspect of that is like how much of that is the drug that the government injected him with.
Right. He injected himself.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's all, he volunteers for a governmental project, then this thing happens, and it's like, all right, well, whose fault is this? Which is, I guess, I'm guessing that that's literally the plot point.
Right. That does make sense, and she's having to defend him. If they can retroactively justify it, I guess that's all right, but I'm still kind of sick of that trend. Apparently Frogman's in this.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's...
So this is going to be straight up Harvey Birdman shit, right?
It's important to know...
That's what we're going to get.
David, it's important to know that the She-Hulk comics have always been comedy. Since John Byrne's run, they've always been comedic. It's not... There was the Savage She-Hulk that started in 1979, which was like kind of a mediocre title. And then when John Byrne took over, it became very funny. And then Dan Slott really, I think, elevated it to a killer level.
So this is pretty exciting then.
Yeah, like I'm very excited for that because it is, we've scratched the surface of Marvel where we can get these weird esoteric characters that I'm like, finally.
Well, yeah, it's just starting to get it's that meta it's Marvel, I think at this point kind of needs to, like, weirdly enough, do what DC is starting to do, which is Marvel should just fracture itself, right? Like, it should just start. Like, we talked about this when we did a review of Eternals, which is like, why couldn't Eternals had just been another universe?
Well,
like, not even connect. Like, why couldn't Marvel just say this is a separate film series? We're not going to connect it with the multiverse. It's just a different narrative. They can't do that. They have that problem where everything has to be connected, which I know is like the comics, but it makes it so that everything at this point is this. It's very much Rick and Morty, where nothing matters. It's this big nihilistic mess with stuff I kind of like in it. But I think the thing that always constantly drags them down is the need to connect it all.
Yeah, here's what I'll say, is that the advent of Marvel Comics in the Silver Age, it's good that you have me on here, David. It's very good. So
I know it is. That's why I asked you to be on.
One of the things that was very important in Marvel Comics, because remember, Marvel Comics didn't start being Marvel Comics the way we know of it until 1961.
Right.
Which means that DC Comics publishing in 1939 with Superman, they had a 20-year sort of bump in there. One of the things about it was Superman's in Metropolis, Batman's in Gotham, we have Keystone City, we have all these different cities that aren't real. And these characters would occasionally interact, but they're off doing their own things in this fantasy world. Marvel very smartly said, we're going to ground this where these people live in the same city, and that city is New York City, and there's going to be some shit, and people are crossing over immediately. You know, the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man, he's like, he goes to the Fantastic Four for financial help.
Right.
And it's like that's important to the history of Marvel, that it is grounded in the same area. Whereas DC has always been this, Marvel's been so much better at keeping continuity, at least a little bit, where DC just like lets shit go wild and then just hits reset all the time.
Yeah,
I
honestly think ultimately that's the better thing to do.
It's also in the spirit of their histories. I think accidentally maybe, because I just think that Warner Brothers doesn't know how to have this property. I just don't think they do. I think they don't know what they're doing with it, which is fine. I think Disney and Marvel do a much better job of that. I think. Oh, for sure. And I think the other thing too is like big events that happen we don't necessarily hear about them. Like something happens in Moon Knight, for example. We're probably not going to hear about that, primarily because how many like bus bombings do you hear? You know, like across the world, like how much national or global news do you know for real? Not as much as we're used to. Right. Yeah, I guess it's the problem is that when it all translates to film, and this is what forever bothers people like myself and, you know, a lot of film nerds and stuff like that, is when it becomes the number one thing that every other film is modeling itself under. It's really disappointing how careless they are narratively and how well everything connects, and the logic starts falling apart. And the always defense is like, oh, it's like the comics, it's fun, just relax. The problem is that it's now affecting everything, and it's the number one thing in the world in terms of films, and it is narrative nonsense, and the tone is all over the place, and so it's that thing where you can't get over the fact of like, what works for comics, I don't think works for what makes films good. Yeah, sure. And what makes TV necessarily good, and that's why it's like, I wish they could just break some of this stuff up, or stop oversaturating everything. I mean, it's the Marvel fatigue, and I don't think I'm alone, and I think a lot of the Marvel fatigue is people having trouble identifying what it is, which is that it's nothing really matters anymore in these series, and they're the biggest series around, and that's a problem. But we've talked about that many times already, because again, there's still some really good shit here. She-Hulk is one of them. I'm enjoying. Like, that's the thing is like, so someone put it. It was actually Small Beans. They were talking about the concept of the sympathy for like a racist white guy, and how like the concept of redemption is not a bad thing. It's that when there's like a million stories doing that same sympathetic white guy storyline, you start getting sick of it, right? Yeah. The idea that there is punishment for villains that deserve punishment. I think Red Skull is a good example of that. No, I just mean Small Beans was talking about actually Life Aquatic of Bill Murray's character in that, or like, you know, you have your Sherlock Holmes type characters. You have your Rick's where it's the same idea of this guy's a bastard, but oh look, he's really crying inside. That's a cliche that's now that oversaturated, right? Everything. And so it's like the cliche itself alone is fine. Like you have no problem with it. But then when it's everywhere, and it's sort of the same thing, which is like She-Hulk, I'm really excited for. But like fourth wall, meta, the like Harvey Birdman of it all, the like, oh, nothing matters. It gets irritating when it's everything, when it floods everything, when all of these movies are now just this like chaotic madness where it's like, who gives a fuck? There's multiverse, nothing matters. The rules are inconsistent every movie. Just have fun with it, but that's everything. I mean, and it's like, man, I really want stuff that matters too. Well, that seems a little contradictory to what you were saying earlier about the wanting, like, being more like DC, which is having a multiverse, and then Marvel coming in. And right. The reason I want it more like DC, where there's more standalone stuff, is that when it's standalone, it's easier to actually matter. Like the new Batman.
they're able to say, okay, forget the Snyderverse. We're going to make this grounded thing that could be a standalone movie. That's what I mean is where when everything is connected in this big web, then it's like nothing. It all starts becoming this big blob, and the fact that you can't tell these like standalones. It feels like they're unable to tell standalone stories that aren't going to branch off into 4 or 5 films because of the nature of what they do now. No one can really die much. Nothing can really progress.
Oh yeah, David?
Nothing can end.
Oh yeah? What's the next trailer we're doing?
I know. The next trailer we're doing looks great.
It does.
And again, this is what I mean is that there are good things in Marvel. It's the oversaturation that's the exhaustion of it all.
Yes. Yeah.
I think.
Because we're doing...
There's nothing wrong with meta stuff. There's nothing wrong with... it's just the fact that they want to have it all. And the next one is Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which, my God, what a fucking trailer.
Dude, I feel like I'm just going to think about this dude being dead in real life for most of this movie.
I know, it's sad.
Like, I get it, and I bet it's going to be awesome, and like, man, Coogler does a hell of a job with this stuff, but...
Yeah, this trailer reminded me how much I like the first Black Panther.
Oh, it's so good.
The one of the best things about the first Black Panther is that the action is very practical, or at least it seems it.
Except for the finish.
Except for the finish. The finish is some terrible CGI. That's the Marvel issue where it's like, in the end they have to fight, and it's like, but do they? Couldn't they have just like talked it out? But nope, they got to fight. But like everything up until that point, I remember the car chase scene, so fucking good.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's so good and brilliant.
And looking at this trailer is like, oh man, now I remember. It's so good.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching again.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely something I'm looking forward to, and another something with Marvel energy.
Oh, are we skipping right over Black Panther?
Oh, I thought we just pretty much covered it, but
yeah, I mean it's hard. There's not much to say except this trailer is fucking great, and I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, no, it just I feel like
I don't know what they're going to do.
This is one of those ones that we're not being like, hey, you guys.
Who do you think is going to be the new Black Panther?
Well, they showed that we got a minute. It looked like M'Baku had the outfit on.
I think. You know what I think? I think it'll be John Krasinski.
Finally.
They'll bring in John Krasinski, playing himself, the actor.
I thought it was going to be John Krasinski as, oh God, of course I blanked out his name. The Amazon dipshit that he plays. Who's the guy? What's the show on it? Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan. He's going to be Black Ryan. Or Jack Panther. Either way.
Jack Panther. Yeah, no, that's what people want.
Yeah, that's the fan casting we've all been looking for.
Yeah. No, this is the deal. This is the whole deal with Marvel that's so frustrating is that I get so fatigued and then they're like, hey, check out this Black Panther trailer. And it's like, fuck, man. All right, I'll see that. Fuck.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Like, how can I not? That looks great. Speaking of things that look great, yeah, next trailer is Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Oh, so refreshing.
I'm seeing this just for Helen Mirren.
Okay, so like I loved the first Shazam, and a lot of people were like, do you like it because it was a Marvel movie in DC?" And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. The DC movies are so up their own ass.
They're joyless.
Every time you see Zack Snyder's fingerprint on one of these DC movies, you're like, this is obnoxious. It's obnoxious. So the fact that they were like, let's have fun. And I was like, oh man, you could do that in a DC movie? It's so fun. The part where, what's his name is doing the monologue in the sky. And he's like, I can't hear you. Like,
yeah, that was one of those jokes that was like, why hadn't anybody done that before?
So this looks like it's just as fun with Helen Mirren.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. The Shazams for me was he mentions Fast and the Furious in this. They're the same way, which is like I see them once, I enjoy it, and then I move on. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this once, enjoying it, and moving on.
Yeah.
And Helen Mirren, any evil superpowered person, that alone is like, yeah, I'm into that.
I went for
You know?
a run around Christmas time, and I ran past her in Burbank. And
Nice.
it took me a second because I was just like, who's this beautiful grandma? It looks like Helen Mirren.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, that can't be Helen Mirren because she probably lives in England.
Right.
Because I'm an idiot. And then I like went home and I Googled it and I was like, oh yeah, that was probably Helen Mirren.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I still have the same issue, which is that even the meta commentary of superhero stuff has gotten old. So like, I just feel like we've milked this cow. The cow is a husk, and that's my overall feeling on superhero stuff, which is like, every now and then there's something where I'm like, ooh, I like who's in that, or that looks fun. But generally speaking, I just am not blown away anymore.
Conceptually, this is refreshing because it's a family of children that become superpowered adults with the brains of children.
Right, that's a fun idea for sure.
To me, that has real like Jumanji energy and the fun you can have with it.
Right, but the general framework of, okay, here's a person with powers. There's some world-ending issue. Things are bursting out of the ground. Whatever. Like that's the stuff where my eyes just glaze over now.
Well,
but there's nothing that can be done about that. It's all the same. You know what I mean? It's Guardians of the Galaxy with the big blob eating everything. It's the blue thing in the sky. It's the fact that, like, you're right, is the Shazam, the premise of the heroes themselves is very fun, and which is why I'm excited for this. But it's sort of the idea of like when you look back at 80s action and they're all kind of the same. There's so many that we just forgot about, you know, where it's like fucking these like, you know, gunfights at docks and like he's a renegade cop, that stuff, you know what I mean? Which isn't to say there aren't good ones. It's just that there's so many now that I've just detached myself. Like Helen Mirren looks great in this. I love the concept of Shazam, but that's sort of it.
I'm so into this one.
I know you are.
I like that it's a refreshing way to do a superhero thing where it's not just like I have powers. Whoa. It's just like this is a fucking child.
Right.
And now it's other children, and that's just really fun to me.
Child soldiers, yeah.
Speaking of this next one is almost infuriating when I think about the budget.
Oh, man, this costs so much. This is the newest trailer for the Rings of Power. See, now, this is the stuff that, personally, I'm like, yeah, give me more of this.
Sure.
Because, well, okay, yes and no. As we've talked very cynically about this in the sense that, like, this is a lead-up to a way more important story. But watching this trailer, it's like, that does look like some fucking Lord of the Rings bullshit.
Yeah. What I like... Okay, first off, I like that there was like colorblind casting, which is
me too.
Which I like mostly because it makes bad people upset. Like that's the thing. Like I should like it for much more progressive reasons, but the big reason is like I like making racists mad.
Yeah, I also just when you cast in a colorblind way, suddenly the world opens up to you.
Yeah,
you could have a bunch of even better, like you have a wider selection of really good actors.
I would like to
and
add
actresses.
I would like to add that colorblind casting in this case means there's a black guy. Like
right. Also, I wouldn't call it colorblind because it's a fucking fantasy universe. So it's like I don't know. I saw the fans get more upset that the elf wasn't black but had short hair, which I guess is like a thing, a Tolkien thing, which is like, no, they should have long hair. And it's
maybe
like,
that's part of the story, you fucking dipshits.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Here's how dumb I am, Dave, is as I was watching this, I was like, I wonder if this is part of the Peter Jackson continuity. And then I was like, oh, because it's from the books.
Right.
Like that's how Marvel has ingrained and DC have ingrained into my brain at this point in time. Because when they showed the Balrog and he looked just like the Balrog from Fellowship and the Two Towers, I was like, oh, it's the same guy. And then I'm like, you fucking idiot.
Of course, it's the same.
I felt so stupid.
these things happen. No, it's really hard because I guarantee it is part of the quote unquote Peter Jackson version. Like, I don't know. I heard they don't have the rights. So I heard that it's not technically, like, legally speaking.
No.
But it's like, no, it's all part of the same universe, obviously.
It's
people
from the
got
same
mad at
books,
what Sauron
man.
looked like.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, I heard Sauron is like can change appearances, so it doesn't matter. I don't know much about the books, to be honest.
Honestly, same. You know why? 'Cause I'm not a fucking nerd.
Yeah, same.
I was doing cool
Absolutely.
shit.
No, I love existing in this universe, so I'm gonna give this a shot. Just because I don't know, it's nostalgic for me.
You watched all 3 Hobbit movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's. I'm
And
gonna
those
give it a
weren't
shot
good, so, like,
for
who
the
cares?
same reason people like superhero movies and I get mad. It's because this is the thing I like, and it's the thing I had as a kid, or not as a kid, as a 20-year-old, as an irresponsible 20-year-old. The Lord of the Rings. So like, it looks very much like Lord of the Rings and less like The Hobbit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
too?
No. It looks more expansive and less stretched out to be in through 3 movies because they wanted to make more money off of them.
Yeah. It just also visually, and this is weird because it's probably packed with CGI, but like it actually looks less, because like the original Lord of the Rings, there was a lot more matte paintings and models and practical stuff. This looks like that, which isn't to say it is that. It just means that CGI has gotten so good that I can't tell the difference anymore. Because The Hobbit looked like crap.
Yeah, it looked like absolute shit. I would add, though, that seeing the budget of this is a little infuriating when I think about how both The Tick and Van Johnson were canceled prematurely.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they were like, we just don't have the money for it. And it's just like, you got the money, you motherfuckers.
Yep. Oh, yeah. What is this, like fucking 30 million an episode? Something wild like that?
It has to be crazy.
Yeah. And they're betting big on this. And I think this is actually the right time, because I think the nostalgia for Lord of the Rings is
it's like
all the people in their 20s grew up on Lord of the Rings.
It's prequel
right?
nostalgia. Yeah, it's like the Star Wars prequel nostalgia.
Exactly. So now is the time for this. I hope it does well, but more importantly, I hope it's good.
Yes. I hope it's good. I hope it doesn't do well, only because I want Amazon to fold in on itself and die.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, down with Amazon.
Steal someone's Amazon account.
Yeah.
And watch it. Dude, that's what I'm going to do. So.
Yeah. I don't want Amazon to be fucking buying up medical companies next.
Yeah, I don't need that. No. Again, I cannot stress enough. That. It's like, stop fucking using Amazon, everybody. Just stop.
Mm-hmm.
But stop it.
In terms of the actual show, the other reason I do want it to be good is because I don't really have a serious TV show that I've glommed onto. Do you have any like serious long going? I don't really have that. I have The Boys,
that's not. I wouldn't call that serious. The Bear, maybe The Bear.
Yeah, I need to start with The Bear. Everybody's talking about The Bear.
I would say, oh, you know what? Actually, there is kind of one. It's silly, but like, because of, I was doing a panel, even though it's for a cast member for The Walking Dead, and so I had to, in my research, I had to watch a bunch of it, and I kind of like got back on that track where I'm starting to watch that show again. And so now I'm getting caught up on this show that I quit and gave up on like within 3 seasons. I was like, I'm done with this.
I enjoyed the fact that The Walking Dead would kill people.
Oh yeah.
And like it became almost a cliche on the show, but it was nice to see characters just come and go so fast. I got as far as Negan. I got up to Negan, and then I dropped off, not for any, I wasn't like, fuck this, you know? It was just like one day I was like, oh yeah, I stopped watching that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, good on you. I need to finish Succession. I haven't finished Succession.
I haven't started Succession.
That's a lot of fun.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
Well, it's, actually, it is and it isn't. It's kind of, it's almost like The Sopranos where you're following bad people. The difference is it almost feels too real because they're like The Sopranos, it's like in more abstract, unless you're directly having issues with the mob. But Succession, it's like, oh, I hate these people because I know them. You know what I mean? Like this is a specific type of person that's ruining America right now. So it's a little harder, but it's still very fascinating.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Me Time?
I kinda. I feel like how is this? This looks like a fake movie.
Yeah, I was waiting for like the premise to happen. You know what I mean? Where it's fucking Kevin Hart who's gets some me time from his family to hang out with Mark Wahlberg, who's having like a birthday party that's really like this big wild birthday party. And then I was like, and you know, like, are they gonna get stuck in the woods? Is something gonna happen? But no, that seems to be it. That's the movie. It's just he goes on a wacky like a party.
Yeah, he's like
with Mark Wahlberg.
It's like also the two main white guys are Mark Wahlberg and Andrew Santino, which that's just like an asshole factory. Where I'm just like, oh God, no. That's like poor little 5'8" Mark Wahlberg. He's like, hey, it's my 54th birthday or my 44th birthday, and it's like, buddy, you're over 50, and we know that.
You're way over 50, Mark. It's whatever.
Sure.
This is a Netflix comedy.
I bet it's that thing where I'm glad Kevin Hart finally can make some money.
Yeah.
He's really been put upon.
Right.
So it's good. It's going to be this. There's going to be a lot of the same gags that you saw, I think, in Jumanji, which is like, get it? I'm little, and bad things happen. Like he definitely is not afraid to make himself the butt of the joke.
This is one that, like, I assume this was written by, like, someone who writes Kevin Hart stuff. You know, like, we ever see these comedies where you're like...
Or is it the direct... Is it... Who directed... Because it was, like, from the director of I Love You Man, or was it the writer?
Right. It's just one of those comedies where you look at it and you're like, how did this... No, this isn't something where, like, someone put this script on the blacklist and it got great reviews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is like an internal script where they're like, I need another project. And someone goes, oh, okay, let me whip something together. That's what it feels like, where it's like, we need a vehicle for Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, it's like
something we can shoot in like a month. You got anything? And it's like, yeah, give me a week.
I'm incredibly surprised that Rose Byrne is not a character in this movie, as Rose Byrne feels like she is like the go-to insert for these like studio comedies.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, we need the sexy wife that's over it. And it's like fucking Rose Byrne, baby.
Of course. But they're all making, like, it's that thing. It's like the Adam Sandler movies where it's like, clearly there's some spreadsheet where they know if we spend this amount of money, we get this amount of money back. And that's all it is. Yeah. Right? And so it's cynical as shit. Like, I'm it's just as kind of upsetting as, you know, my frustrations with the Marvel system or any big studio stuff. I guess it's just because these are so off the radar, you don't think about them as much. But it's a silent.
They're
fence,
massive.
You know,
they're massive money makers, man. They're just they're family. They're family and young adult comedies.
They're not massive money makers. That's the thing is it's the difference between when you play poker and you like go all in on a risky hand. You do like
reliable.
Maverick.
They're reliable.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to you're just doing the pot odds and like sitting there and doing the math quietly, and you're slowly making money over time. That's what this is. It's them like weighing the pot odds and just sort of making these incremental amounts of money.
They'll profit $30 million off of this or something.
Yeah,
and it'll be good. Now, I've never seen any of these next movies, by the way.
Oh, they're my favorite.
I've heard they're great.
Well, depends on what you call great. So the next trailer is for the TV show National Treasure: Edge of History, which you asked in the notes. Nicolas Cage is not in these.
All right, well.
So I would argue I don't care nearly as much, but I might love this.
Well, the thing about it is, and this is very important for you to recognize, David, is the woman that they showed us in this very short thing is very attractive.
She is.
So
good
I'm like,
her.
oh, that's, good. It's a good reason for me to watch something.
Yeah, it's a teaser. It's just like a lady looking at a map.
Didn't she like wink at the map or something?
And then she's hot. Here's the thing, Jeff, is we are in a age now where treasure hunting movies are few and far in between, right?
Yeah.
And as someone who loves treasure hunting movies, I have to accept that I can take whatever I get. It's basically superhero movies in the 90s.
Yeah.
Superhero movie in the 90s was described to me the same way, right?
I would say even the 80s.
Yeah.
When you look at like Michael Douglas, Jewel of the Niling and shit like that, or Indiana Jones and shit, like.
Right. Well, that was some good treasure hunting. My point is that like there was a time where a superhero fan would watch Steel and be like, yeah, I'm going to suck the fucking marrow out of that bone.
This is all we have. Yeah. That's me seeing Tank Girl on opening day.
Exactly. And so treasure hunting movies, it's kind of that where I just take whatever I can get. So, I'll watch this. I'll watch it and I'll fucking love it.
It seems like
as much as I can.
Is that what The Librarians was? Because it feels like that's what The Librarians was.
The Librarians is like, is like when you eat the dog food in Wolfenstein because you're dying. It's real. It's really fucking bleak. It is. It's like last
that
resort.
Might be the best way to describe that specific event.
And that's what it is.
All right.
It's fucking. It's bad. It's real bad. National Treasures are also very bad. National Treasures are to heist or are to treasure hunting movies what the Now You See Me's are to heist movies.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Where like they're not smart in any way.
Can I say something, David?
What?
I've never seen the Now You See Me movies.
Oh.
There's just so many movies that I see the trailer for and I'm like, nah, I'm good.
No, you don't need to see those.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, for people who haven't seen the Now You See Me, is that when they do the heist, it's always it's not smart. You know what I mean? Where like, it's not like, oh, we did this cool thing. It's like the yada yada stuff, or they make up technology, or they say like, oh yeah, he simply put this thing next to the key card and that made it unlock. And it's like, okay, so that's not like where like a writer isn't trying. It's like the same with National Treasure.
It's like an Ocean's 13. Where you're like, you see Ocean's 11 and you're like, God damn, this is great. And then you see the other ones and you're like, God damn, Ocean's 11 was great.
Right, exactly. And that's what National Treasure is. It's just like, haha, did you know there was a treasure under the fucking Mount Rushmore? And it's like, what the fuck, man? And the clues are always so stupid and weird. Yeah. And it's all I can get, and I love them. Yeah. I love them. I love them.
I love them. I love that you love them.
Yeah. You want to thank some more producers? Because we're not doing news stories.
Sure.
We are halfway through the trailers, Jeff.
Jesus Christ.
We're going to have to pick this up a little bit.
Let's move it.
All right. Big thank you to Davey Francis 9. Davey Goes to Hell.
Where I don't see these. Oh, okay. Here they are.
Oh, scroll down. You see them?
There. Yeah.
Thank you to Oh Great. It's that guy. Thank you to Chester's Prophet. Thank you to Definitely Not Guillermo del Toro.
I don't believe you.
Thank you to Brian, who Tom knows. Thank you to Bob Grenville. Thank you to Steven. Thank you to Han Toomey, the confused cyborg.
I would like to thank Asking 7.
Thank you.
Let's thank Happy Ed 209.
Thank you.
Manischewitz Molotov says economic solidarity is the path to paradise, comrades.
Thank you.
Special thanks to Tiger Drawers. Pratt Thompson sings, raindrops keep falling on my head.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Shout out to Dan Hackroyd.
Thank you.
Shout out to Cody Johnston's Time Machine Noise.
Thank you.
Shout out to Pete Vorpagel.
Vorpagel. Yeah, I think that's how we've been saying it.
And, of course, pre-order Jason Pargent's new book. Pre-orders are super important.
It's true. Thank you. Okay.
I went for Radio DJ on that one.
That was pretty good. I liked it.
Hey, this next movie, I feel like even uncomfortable that we have to talk about.
Yeah, well, my fucking God, I apologize, but it has to be talked about. This is all like broad comedies, superhero, Comic-Con, and here's the trailer for Till.
Okay.
The Emmett Till film.
The first half of this trailer is like a Blumhouse horror. Like it's cut and edited the same way a Blumhouse horror trailer is cut.
Yes, I agree.
And I was
the
like,
trailer itself is very odd.
No.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do this. Not for this movie. fire that trailer editor.
Yeah. This is man, I am actually surprised this hadn't gotten like no, I guess I'm not surprised this hadn't gotten made. It's wild that we haven't told this story, you know? Maybe we have and I just never watched it. But this is, I mean, go ahead and I guess Google Emmett Till.
Read the Emmett Till Wikipedia and don't listen to our comedy podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is it's that feeling of like I'm not equipped to talk about this.
No, are you sure? Two white guys talking about Till. I will just say that the trailer editing is like monstrous decision for that first half of the trailer.
Yes.
And this movie looks amazing and important.
Yeah, it looks like they're really going to show the pain here because Emmett Till is a 14-year-old in the 1950s who is lynched because he was black and pretty much framed, I believe.
Supposedly whistled at a white woman.
Yeah, exactly, and it's really fucked up. And they chose this actor who's just so sweet to play Emmett Till, and that's the point. It's to show this life, this beautiful life that was cut short through horrible events. And I'm gonna watch it exactly once, and like it's going to be on that shelf with Boys Don't Cry and Judas and the Black Messiah and all the ones where it's like, this is an extremely important story that is so fucking sad, but you shouldn't look away. And so that's really my take on it is, I mean, I'm glad it's getting made, it's going to be a hard film to watch, but it's important to watch.
You know what? I'm not necessarily glad it's being made and won't be hard to watch.
Yeah.
Interview with the Vampire on AMC. All right. Moving along to Interview.
Man, that's a hard transition, folks.
It's got to get
Interview with the Vampire, the TV show.
Yeah.
So excited.
I'm sure. Fine. That's the eunuch from Game of Thrones, right? That's like the main character.
That would make sense. I don't know, but
this
like
has all
Louis, right? You're talking about Louis?
Sure. Yeah. I paid mild attention to this one because I was like, sure.
Are you not a Interview with Vampire head?
No.
It is the eunuch. It's Grey Worm from Game of Thrones. Playing Louis, who is the Brad Pitt character.
Yes.
Sam Reed as Lestat, or the Tom Cruise character. That original movie is fucking wild because that's one of those roles where you never get Tom Cruise to do that ever again.
You know what's funny about that whole thing too is how I love how Anne Rice was like, I hate this. And then as soon as she saw it, she was like, I was wrong. And she like took out a full page ad admitting how fucking stupid she was.
Because sometimes books aren't movies, so you have to change things around.
And then she was like, I fucking love this. Never mind.
Yeah. That was an amazing era of cinema. Again, to just see Tom Cruise in that role with fucking Brad Pitt and Christian Slater. God, beautiful film. Beautiful fucking
Christian
bullshit
Slater's in it.
Vampire film. Yeah. There's fucking everybody's in that. And so I'm excited for this. I think I'm looking for the next big thing, right? And if it's vampires, then so be it. If it's Lord of the Rings, then so be it. Because we also have the Dungeons and Dragons trailer coming up too. Like, there's a couple things that's like, oh, this could be the new fad, right? We could all dress like vampires and act like assholes for 10 years, right?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, we already did that though.
We did. You're right.
Like,
that's true.
That's the other problem is like, yeah, that's the thing we already took care of.
Yeah, we need
more vampires. What's next, Dave?
Vampire Academy.
God damn it.
On Peacock. I put these next to each other. I'm gonna try to watch them both.
Big question, Dave. Is this an academy like for vampires, or is like an academy to like to fight questions. Vampires, or just is it like a club where they talk about vampires?
I think it's like Harry Potter, where if you're a vampire, you can go to this academy.
Ooh, it's Scary Potter.
It's Scary Potter. I think that's what's going on here.
Because there's definitely a dude doing Tai Chi in the sun on top of a castle
I don't know, man.
In one of these little cutscenes, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't know what a vampire is, because they showed it, and it's like very much like, oh, we're all indoors, and then there was this one dude, like doing martial arts on
you
the
want
top
the synopsis?
of a parapet. Yes, and then very much no. I don't know.
The IMDb synopsis. I'm going to give it to you.
Give me it.
In a world of privilege and glamour, two young women's friendships transcends their strikingly different classes as they prepare to complete their education and enter royal vampire society.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about two women of different classes. I assume she's like half Muggle, like something like that.
Yeah.
Or it's just money, and they are entering vampire society. So it sounds like vampires have to go through training to be a vampire.
To be like a foppish vampire.
Yeah, is that what's happening?
I don't know.
Because they're in the trailer, they're in like jumpsuits.
Dave,
and you're right, there is a guy doing karate on the roof.
Dave, this looks fucking ridiculous, and I love it.
I know, I can't fucking wait. This is an interview with a vampire. They're both like vampire drama shit, and I fucking love it.
Yeah. And
this is going to be the
Peacock.
CW version, right?
Yeah, well, it's on Peacock, so you're already like, okay.
I think the other interview with the vampire, is that going out when
AMC.
What is that? AMC. So that's going to be like bloody and going to be like actually kind of gritty.
Yeah.
Vampire Academy is the one for teens, and I'll watch them both.
Yeah.
Now we're on to what I would consider the main event. So this is my jam. This is officially my jam.
Yeah.
And this is the trailer for Breaking with John Boyega.
It's like Dog Day Afternoon, right? Like it's
John Boyega doing kind of Denzel.
Yes. It's very Denzel. It's very like it has that inside job energy to it.
He's playing it in a very Denzel way.
Oh, yeah.
It's like John Q or whatever.
Oh.
It's about a war veteran robbing a bank with a bomb, based off a true story. I don't know how true the story will be, but yeah, they could, in the trailer they say it's like Dog Day Afternoon, and it's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. It took me way too long to realize that was John Boyega.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
I'm like,
John Boyega.
Where's his lightsaber?
I know. John Boyega fucking killed it in Attack the Block, and then he killed it in the Star Wars. And then he sort of spoke out. And I was so terrified that his career would end because he made waves, right?
Yeah.
And I am so fucking excited to see his career.
I mean, not only that too, but like he spoke out about racism in Star Wars fandom.
Right.
And people are like, you can't say that. And it's like, but the Star Wars fans are racist, like a lot of them are. And this is clearly an Afrocentric film, like a black centered film. Michael Kenneth Williams is in it, and they very much like he's the contact, like the negotiator, and he even says like, I'm going to help you brother to brother. And so it's good to see that John can be in a movie that he feels comfortable, in a black centric film where it's not with a fucking toxic shit fan base. Right.
This is the type of movie that I wish we could bring back a little more. That's what I always mourn with, where it's the oversaturation versus stuff like this. Like, I want this movie to be number one at the box office.
Yeah.
Because in the 90s it would have been. Yeah. And that's what I want, is like, I want real human movies, stories that are about mortals that's why I was really happy about Top Gun, even though that's a big studio movie. It was like, oh, thank God it's about a human being. And this is one that this deserves. I don't know if maybe it's terrible. Maybe this movie sucks, but it looks really good. And then, Williams in it, who is since passed. Like, I assume this is his last film.
Yeah.
And it looks just so fucking tense. And that it looks 90s like, style drama.
It looks like Spike Lee should have directed this.
Yeah. That would have been great.
And that
Inside
is good.
Man, I fucking love Inside Man.
Yes. Yeah, I want this too. Like, and also just as a reminder, Top Gun was so good.
Top one was so good.
Like, I don't care how absolutely ridiculous and like jingoistic it is. It's so good.
It's Top Gun. What do you like?
Yeah.
That's of course it's going to be that. I would argue superhero movies are jingoistic too.
A lot
like,
of them,
yeah. It's weird that Captain America doesn't get that same accusation, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's...
Well, he fights this government. Like, Captain America fights the government. So, like, you know, he's jingoistic in the ideals of the country, but not the country itself, which is actually a really good way to do it.
Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was one of the smarter things.
Yeah.
They added to that. But yeah, this just looks... so good. It's hard to describe it any other way. It's just, guy robbing a bank that everybody's sympathetic for.
Maybe see this.
And maybe see this.
Maybe use your money on this.
John Boyega is so fucking charismatic.
Yeah.
It's just so great to, I don't know. I'm so happy to see him in a movie right now.
This is like what we're talking about too with like the movies and the way they are. And it kind of reminds me of like my frustration when Everything Everywhere All at Once came out. And like a lot of us were just being like, go fucking see this movie. Like if you can see a movie, please go see it. And then you hear like people just weren't seeing it in the theater. And then it came out on streaming and people were like, I can't believe it took so long. And it's like, motherfucker, we told you so hard that this is the kind of movie that deserves your attention.
Yeah.
And like this, folks, this is the kind of movie that deserves your attention. Fucking don't see Shazam. Wait till it comes out on HBO Max and see Breaking instead. Like Christ. Like go see, give them money. Right. Give them your ticket sales. They need it.
I mean, I would argue see both if you can. But yeah, you're right, which is Shazam will do fine.
Yeah.
You know, like they'll be fine.
Yeah.
This is the thing that's like, I want, this is what you need.
This is what we need to sell tickets. We need this shit to sell tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, it's just like more.
Right. Because I get what you're saying, because it's not like, this isn't like a battle, right? It's not like you go see a movie you don't want to see. It's what you're saying with Everything Everywhere, where people then see it later and they're like, oh, this is so good. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? We could have had more movies greenlit like this if you had seen it in the theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and that's what it is.
Like, Marvel and DC are going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like they are. And I know not everybody has access to like a Stubbs A-list or whatever to see as many movies as they want, and going to the movies is expensive, but like, maybe take a time where you don't have to see the big blockbuster that's going to make $1 trillion, and maybe see something that really needs your ticket sales.
Yeah, that's very true. It's hard because there is this instinct of like, this isn't a movie you need to see in the big screen, right? Like it's a smaller story. And it's because our blockbusters have gotten so big and big and big that it's like people look at movies like this and they're like, oh, I don't need to go to the movie theater for that. I don't need to pay $20 for that. I want to pay $20 for this big epic IMAX experience.
Yeah.
But it really is true that this is the kind of shit that really needs to be supported, and it's
hopefully
it's
it will.
good.
Yeah. Pearl.
Yeah, did you see X?
I sure did. I saw it in the theaters with Adam Todd Brown.
This is the sequel or prequel rather to X.
Yeah. I kind of don't give a shit. I did not care about X. It was predictable in every predictable way. The acting of the older characters was laughable. The makeup on them was kind of silly. I did not like X. I don't understand what I missed, but I know a lot of my friends fucking love that movie, and I was just like, it's fine.
I might. Okay, I don't think I can explain it to you, because here's the thing. I'm a big fan of Ty West, the director, and he's the director behind Pearl and X. I would say that X is my least favorite of his films.
Okay.
Which isn't to say that I think X is bad. And I agree with you in the sense that everybody seems to love X. It didn't quite do it for me either, to be honest. And again, I can't stress enough how much I love Ty West's films. He did The Sacrament, which I thought was extremely good. He did The Innkeepers, which is one of my favorite horror movies. He did House of the Devil, which is so great. He tends to do simpler and slower burn movies. And that's what I like about him. My personal view is that the slasher genre doesn't quite grab me. It just never has. And X is very much a very simplistic slasher film.
There is
where, like you said, where there's nothing to it.
No, dude, Dave, there's a scene in the barn where there are 4 holes equidistant apart from each other. And you look at it and you're like, a pitchfork's going into someone's face through that. And that's literally like, there's no, it was formulaically boring. It was boring and also like ridiculous. The old lady voice that she was doing in the old lady makeup was laughable. The makeup on the old man, I was watching that and I was just like, man, they did a better job in like 1974 with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
Doing old, like it was, I watched it and I was like, what am I missing?
Right. I can't really answer that because I didn't hate X as, like, I didn't dislike it as much as you did because I'm a horror junkie. There's just something that always bothers me is when a director I really like makes a movie where I'm like, it wasn't for me. And then this movie where they're like glomming onto it, they're like, and we're going to keep going with X, everybody. And it's like, oh no, make something else.
Yeah.
But well, like, I mean, who am I?
I'm guessing X was his most profitable film.
Yeah. It's just, it's that thing where like, this happened to me a few times. It's James Cameron with Avatar, where he's like, "This is it. This is the rest of my life." And it's like, really, man? Because you made a lot of really good films. Why are you picking your least good film to like really roll with? That said, again, I liked X more than you. I like the simplicity of Ty West, and I really like his directing style. It's for me, it's the genre. The genre just never really does much for me.
Yeah.
It's in order to do a slasher film these days, it has to get so meta that it's just hard for slashers to impress me anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's also a genre that's always going to have fans that support it. So
yeah, and it's always going to be around.
Like they said,
it's always going to get revivals and so on.
Yeah, big answer for people too if they're ever looking into getting into movie making, that horror and slasher are the easiest gates of entry with the strong fan base. So
yeah, my view of X, again, I didn't hate it. It's just, I'm not always going to like everything a director I like does. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't dislike X. I just didn't. I'm trying to think of a good comparison. Every now and then there's horror movies like this where they just sort of happen and then you watch them and you go, okay.
It's the Ford
and
Taurus
then you move on
movies.
because it's like, oh, I guess that sequence of events happened.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like you said anything with it. It didn't feel like it mattered too much. It was just a very small like slasher story that was like, oh, okay, that was that was fine. Then I walked away.
It's a Ford Taurus. It's a Toyota Corolla. It's an innocuous thing that you will forget about as soon as you leave it, but whatever.
Right. And so I think he shot them both close back to back or something like that. That's part of it. So I think this was part of the plan to begin with.
So
I don't think he saw success for X and then went and made Pearl,
So she could keep that sweet voice that she has going on.
Yeah.
That awful, terrible voice.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, there's a lot. I love his directing style. So there was a lot in X that I really enjoyed as well.
Next one, actually, I'm really excited about.
So 2 things can be true.
Because it looks like they're doing this property correctly. Where they tried once before.
Yes.
And boy, it did not go well. Although good on them for putting Marlon Wayans in that movie when it came out.
Yeah, he should have been in this one too. Two things can be true. I'm very excited for this movie. Also, I don't think this movie is going to be very good.
It looks like they're trying to do a mix of Lord of the Rings meets Avengers. Like if you made Lord of the Rings have a Marvel sensibility, that's what you're going to get here.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna fail. I do not think this movie is gonna do good. it's like comedy writers behind it and directors. It's going to very much be like a comedy, I feel like. It's hold on. I looked up the director.
It's John
earlier.
Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein.
Right, and they did let's see. They wrote Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
What did they direct?
I think
Vacation. They directed Vacation and Game Night.
And I think those are which are great.
I was about to say those are
great.
good.
Yeah.
Those are surprisingly good. And so that's what I mean by like I think I'm going to really enjoy this film and I think it's going to bomb.
You know who John Francis Daley is, right? He's the kid from Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, really?
And he's the silent dude from Waiting that loses his mind at the end of the movie.
Oh, I never saw Waiting.
Oh, it's fun if you've ever worked in a restaurant, which you have.
I have.
But yeah, so here's the thing is I like Dungeons and Dragons is a property now that has got enough steam. Like the fact that they made a Dungeons and Dragons movie in the 90s is fucking wild to me.
Really is.
Because D&D was not at its height at the time. It seemed like a movie that they had to make to keep the property.
Right.
Whereas this is huge now. Like D&D is massive.
Right. And I see this is the thing. Much like Warcraft, I think the issue is that, and maybe actually I shouldn't say this about Warcraft because I don't know enough about Warcraft. I simply suspect this, and people can correct me if I'm wrong. It's such a broad premise that there's no story, right? Dungeons and Dragons, there's no story. There's a world. And the world is so generic at this point that it lives and dies by the story told in it, is my point. And so the question now is this story going to be good? Is this characters going to be good? I really do think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think I want kind of more blockbusters like this. I just have that gut feeling that it's going to be another Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I do feel
in
like
the sense that it's going to bomb.
I like that Chris Pine is leaning into the Shatnerist like existence that
yes, he really is.
Like where seems like a movie that Shatner would have been in the 70s, and I fucking love that for him.
I think Chris Pine, he's got the Brad Pitt problem. He's a character actor who's too good looking.
Yeah.
Like he should play weirder characters. Yeah. It doesn't get to.
But so I'd say that this movie is a direct result of Critical Role. Like this,
right?
That they've done a good job with that. I think the idea that Dungeons and Dragons doesn't have to be crazy serious is good and fun, and that your snarky band of thieves. You got Michelle Rodriguez and Reggie Jean Page, Jussie Smith.
Right. It could go either way. I should say like. Maybe I'll eat these words. I just get this feeling that like it's I don't know. I get a feeling that it's going to come and go. Something on this list is going to bomb, right? Like something's bound to bomb here. This is the thing that I feel like will bomb. And I don't know if it'll deserve to bomb. I think it'll be a good movie.
I would like to add, though, that we are in the middle of the Hugh Grant-assance.
Yes, we are. And Hugh Grant is in this.
Which is very good, because he's playing like the rogue, which is such a perfect choice for him.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited for this.
I cannot wait.
It looks so much like stupid fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Chris Pine, I'm glad he's there. Michelle Rodriguez, perfect for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
like
she's the barbarian
too.
Like it makes sense.
Right. Do you think they're going to have any like people like playing the characters?
Oh, like it's going to be like
they keep cutting to children.
It's going to be very like whatchamacallit there, Princess Bride kind of an energy.
I don't think they will, but I think that's a mistake. I think Dungeons and Dragons should have been treated more like the Lego movie. where it's like there's a meta element to it.
There is
Because Dungeons and Dragons, part of what I think that's the thing that the last movie missed and this movie might miss, which is that part of the appeal of Dungeons and Dragons, the reason we love it is we love watching people play it.
Yeah.
Right? We don't care the story of Dungeons and Dragons. The world is like, I feel like we've just, Lord of the Rings is there. Like there's a million versions of this world. The uniqueness of Dungeons and Dragons is the dynamic of the game.
My brother read this book one time, and it was essentially like a D&D style campaign, but the characters knew they were in the campaign. So they knew they were part of this campaign, but the campaign was being played by a bunch of like 12 and 13-year-olds. So they kept getting attacked by like giant boob monsters and giant cocks and stuff like that.
That's a lot of fun.
And it was just them being like, what the fuck? Come on, really? And
like there could be a Shazam element to that.
Yeah, like
right?
I do really like the idea, or I guess when we say a Shazam element, what we more accurately would be like a Jumanji.
Yeah, a Jumanji, yeah.
Which Jumanji might be one of my favorite movies of the past 10 years. Like
it was a lot of fun.
I legitimately, like, pound for pound, movies that I enjoyed seeing in the theater, that's like way at the top.
Right. And that is essentially like that is more what a Dungeons and Dragons could have been.
Yeah.
Which is like kids sucked into a fantasy, or simply, I think the problem with doing that is it lowers the stakes, right? If you know it's all a fantasy game, but The Princess Bride is a book being told. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you could still do that, and I don't know. I think that is oddly enough what's missing from Dungeons and Dragons, which is weird because when you adapt a book, you don't need to show someone reading the book every time, right? Like when you adapt a board game, you don't need to start with the premise of a board game being played. I just think that when people think about what they love about Dungeons and Dragons, specifically observing people play it, it's the people playing it.
Yeah.
That's what they like.
Yeah.
It's not.
I think it's both, because I think fantasy is like Lord of the Rings is another example of being like, you don't watch Lord of the Rings because of people playing it. You like it because, hey, that's cool. And this has the same element of we have these characters and we can play with them. And I hope it's great. I really do.
Me too.
And
I think it will be a lot of fun. I really do. I just don't know. I just, again, I get this weird gut feeling that it's going to bomb.
I hope we have Jumanji energy to it. Like I hope we get that reaction from the audience.
That would be great.
Speaking of movie franchises that became unstoppable, buddy.
John Wick 4. I agree with your note here, which is like it's funny is when I think countless sequels, most of the time I think it gets worse every time. John Wick and certain action franchises are this way, but John Wick especially gets better every sequel. It just does.
There is no diminishing returns with John Wick yet.
No, every John Wick has been better than the last, in my opinion.
And they're so fun. Like, and they're just Keanu has no ego. And he allows himself, like when you think about those Fast and the Furious movies and like the contract stipulations in there.
Right.
And meanwhile, Keanu's like, supposed to kill certain martial arts film legends. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's make it a tie. Let's have him live. And it's just like, that is extremely my shit.
Yeah, he's a pure soul. He just has so much fun doing these, and I know that about him. I know how much fun he's having doing this. And so he's always going to keep doing them for that reason. And then I also watched John Wick 1 recently. Still really fucking good.
Yes.
Like that's the other thing is these get better, but they started at a 10.
Yeah.
So much fucking fun.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what he kills people with in this one.
Yeah, right? Like, with a fucking pencil.
Yeah. And then like a good action movie, it really does stay. It's as stunt heavy as it can be, which is very nice to see. That's where I think like the Fast and the Furious went wrong, where it's like, you're a car stunt movie. Why are you doing CGI space shots? Like, give me car stunts. like give me the latest technology in car stunts.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say John Wick has plenty of CGI elements, but they're always thinking in terms of stunts.
Their CGI elements are oftentimes like blood spray. Like a lot of it is the CGI that we don't think of.
Or just like, we can't do this stunt on a motorcycle. We're going to do it on a green screen, but he's still doing the stunt.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
Yeah. Keanu is the kind of guy that's going to lean in and be like, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Right.
And he's just having fun learning to do shit. That's his thing. Like, this dude rides motorcycles. Like, he loves doing that. He loves learning, kung fu and shit. Like this is like a fantasy camp for him to do these movies.
Yeah.
Because he's making probably $25 million.
My favorite Keanu Reeves thing is the behind the scenes of The Matrix. The first Matrix, you can watch the interviews, and
is it the one where he yells at the camera?
No, it's interviews about just like all the actors talking about what it means, The Matrix, and like Carrie-Anne Moss and everybody, and Lawrence Fishburne are talking about like the philosophy behind it, and like, this theory that there's another world. And then it cuts to Keanu and he's like, and I learned how to do this kick, and I learned how to do this, and they let me do backflips, and they got me on wires, and that's all he cares about.
Dude,
that's what it is he's just like having so much fucking fun with just getting to flip around.
Yeah. There's a scene during one of the Wire stunts where they're filming like the behind the scenes stuff, and he just looks at the camera and goes, I'm gonna be a superhero. And he just like makes like a goofy sound about it, and it's
so good.
And I'm like, I love this so much. Like, I'm so happy for him. After the way everybody was mean to him about Constantine, like, he deserves
which isn't that
everything.
Bad of a movie.
I love Constantine, but people were such dicks about it.
Yeah, they were.
He's not British enough. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut your fucking mouth.
He's fine. He's fine. Goddamn. Yeah, the only way John Wick could lose me is if they start doing stuff like having him doing like CGI jumps from across one building to the next and start like replacing the stunts with CG. That's where they'd go wrong. And so far, so good. So
yeah. We're doing great. We're doing great on the John Wick front here.
Yeah, we really are. John Wick has never been better, folks.
John Wick's doing great. We're all happy for him.
We're all happy for him. We love Keanu. Look, he doesn't always do the best performances. We'll forgive him for Knock Knock. It doesn't matter. He's great.
Fine. We love him. We love it, the Keanu.
Yeah. He's got so much goodwill to burn through.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Let him make a shit movie sometimes, too.
Yeah. Yes. Let him make a shit movie. It's okay. All right. Well, we don't have news stories, so I'm going to read some more patrons.
You know what they say. No news is good news.
Nice. Good job. What is that? Blazing Saddles?
It's actually close.
Oh,
it's
is
Robin
that
Hood Men in Tights?
Men in Tights? It's the same guy.
Probably, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the same hangman. Listen, big thank you to Del Griffith, the shower curtain fella. Thank you to the Midnight Patron with Patrons at Midnight.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you to Exploding Runes. Thank you to Andrew, the Proud Satanist How. Thank you to Vincent. Thank you to Rev MD. Thank you to Bootler Boodleson. Thank you to Tux. Thank you to Ricky Cilantro. Thank you to Norm from Cheers. Thank you to Space McNulty. Thank you.
Thank you to your mom.
Thanks, Mom.
I do like your mom. She's great.
Yeah.
Thank you to Nolan, Tubi's Dark Herald Matin.
Thank you.
Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Follow Marina on Twitch and Patreon at HeartFistBrain McGuire.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shout out to AJ.
Thank you.
Shout out to Tip Drizzle.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, we like that. Shout out to Burrito Mouth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Burrito Mouth. Shout out to the Ghost of Dave Thomas.
Thank you.
Shout out to Aaron Burr, sir.
Thank you.
It's not Aaron Burser. Like, he's not a Burser, but he's a Burr.
Right.
Sir. Shout out to Christopher Roberts Sparts Esquire.
Thank you.
Shout out to Mackenzie Fuck Shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick chill.
Of course.
Shout out to Funky J.
Thank you.
And of course, shout out to Pie Guy. We can't forget Pie Guy.
Pie Guy. He's the best.
There it is.
Jeff,
Yes, sir.
is there anything you need to ask me?
Yeah, probably. Hey, Dave,
Yes,
are
Jeff.
there any movies that might deserve more hype than they're getting right now?
Thank you for helping with the bit. There are two. I have two. I had to do an emergency ad of one.
It's good because, the show is short enough. So
Yeah,
we
I know,
need some
right?
filler here.
I apologize. So we'll blow through these. The first one is called The Harbinger. And the trailer, I would argue, doesn't look like anything.
Sure.
I don't know if you watched this.
I did.
It doesn't look particularly unique
It looks very
in any way.
There's a lot going on in The Harbinger here.
Yeah, it's this. I'll get to why I chose this one. It's the story of apparently it's related to the pandemic, which I hate. I always hate that. But it's about a woman who's getting these nightmares of like a demon that's telling her time is running out.
So, Dave, would you say that this is the story of a girl?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And
just checking.
the figure is growing more menacing each time. She goes on Reddit and finds out it's like a demon. Again, very generic sounding. This is why I picked this. I'm going to open it's Andy Mitten is the director writer. And the reason I brought this up is because Andy Mitten directed and written his last movie, which was called The Witch in the Window. Now, if you have seen that movie, you would know that is an extremely promising indie horror film. It has some extremely creepy ideas in it. It doesn't always execute it perfectly, but it's a very low budget, very good horror film that came out. And this is his follow-up. And that's why I need to give it a shout out, because just based off who made it, just based off this guy, I am like pretty confident in The Harbinger as a film.
I like the idea of you being like, this guy right here, when he shows up on the thing.
No, The Witch in the Window, I don't want to spoil too much. It just has a couple really fucking good horror concepts. It's the basic premise of that one was that there was a woman who lived in this house that everybody thought was a witch in the window. And she would look out the window every day. And one day she dies and they don't notice for like 3 days. So her corpse is just looking out the window, which again, it just feels like a bad fairy tale, right? Like a scary fucking fable. Yeah. And then this guy is flipping the house with his son, and it's a very slow burn. It's very character centric about this guy and his son, and like the idea of raising a kid in the modern world with like the internet and stuff like that is a big part of it. And obviously they start encountering some supernatural shit, and it's done in a very slow burn style and really in creepy way. There's like a really creepy subplot where the neighbor keeps sleepwalking, and every time he wakes up, he's closer to the house, which is a really creepy idea, that he's just slowly getting drawn towards the house every time. And so, like, my point is, that's that other movie. This is their follow-up, which again, sounds fairly generic, except to say that the trailer does have some really cool-looking shots in it, horror shots, if you're into that. And I just have a lot of faith in this director.
I am glad that you have faith in this director. Good for you, Dave.
Yeah, you're not much of a horror fan, are you?
No, I try to, but like, it's just not something
right.
I particularly like. I do like a stand-up bit about it and everything like that, but it's just like I've never really been like too freaked out by the supernatural, but there are certain individual situations that I find just delightful, like individual movie scenes.
Sure.
Literally like in Signs when the alien walks past the window.
Everybody loves that.
Like, which is such a weird thing because that movie is bad, and yet that scene is just like an iconic scene.
Shyamalan is legit great at making horror scenes. He's just not good at the other stuff.
Correct.
But he can fucking direct a horror scene, like it's nobody's business.
Like it's his literal job.
Yeah, like it's his literal job. So The Harbinger. Again, there's another movie called The Harbinger coming out So
Great.
this is how fucking generic. This is why I wanted to signal boost this, because I guarantee this is one of those movies that's going to get lost in the shuffle that people are going to realize later is very good. Lake Mungo comes to mind. That's a movie that looks very generic, and then you watch it and you're like, holy shit. So I would say The Witch in the Window, Google that, and then follow the director to The Harbinger. That's all.
Yeah.
Second movie. Now, this popped up on Twitter thanks to Doc Garby tweeting at our account, and watching the trailer was like, well, how can I not? This is coming out August 15th. By the way, The Harbinger, I don't have a release date for yet. Sorry. But The Glorious is what this is called. It's called Glorious. It's coming out August 15th. It's about a guy who goes into a bathroom in the middle of nowhere and wearing just boxers. He enters this shitty bathroom. He's at like rock bottom, and the guy in the next stall starts to have a conversation. The guy in the next stall, played by J.K. Simmons,
Of
and
course.
turns out to be a Lovecraftian creature that traps him in the stall. And it's very like Mandy, color out of space aesthetic. Definitely check out the trailer, because you'll instantly, it's like 30 seconds and you're like, you're all
You're
in
in.
the moment you see it.
Question. Title. Is that a
Glorious.
Is that a glory hole reference?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think the idea is that this is a Lovecraftian glory hole film.
More like a make Lovecraftian.
Right. So yeah, how could I not mention this? It's coming out August 15th. It looks so fucking good. J.K.
It
Simmons
does.
as a fucking alien that traps a man in a bathroom.
Yeah. Or an elder
It's filled-
god hanging out in a
Yeah.
stall. And like,
Yeah.
imagine if that's your elder god existence, is like a shitty Sitco station in the middle
Right.
of nowhere. It's like shit stall.
God, I hope this ends by the guy just letting the elder god like suck him off, and that's all he wanted.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay,
why don't you let me suck
was that so
dick?
hard?
Let me
Yeah.
suck that mortal dick.
J.K. Simmons aggressively asking this guy. Oh, that's beautiful. But yeah, glorious. Just check out the trailer. You'll fucking love it.
That looks really
If
fun.
you-
Is that theatrical, or is that going to be a streaming thing?
I think this is on streaming.
Ah.
I think it's limited theatrical. It's
Well,
coming out on
lucky for
Shudder.
us. If it's limited theatrical, that might be good for us.
Yeah, for sure. If you're in LA, you could probably see it. But if you have Shudder, it'll be available on streaming for rent or on Shudder. And I mean, just fucking J.K. Simmons as a Lovecraftian demon creature
What's
in a
not
bathroom
to love?
through a glory hole.
He's like, I demand, if you want to be released, I want pictures of Spider-Man.
That'd be amazing. He has to slip pictures under the fucking thing. Yeah.
You know what I want. He just slides him through the glory hole. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You just hear him start sucking off the pictures of Spider-Man.
Oh man, so exciting.
There's so many ways to play that, but I do like these. I like these like very claustrophobic films. These ones
Yeah.
where like Saw. Granted, I didn't see Saw. I didn't watch the Saw movies because torture porn is not my energy. But
Same.
like the idea that you just bang out a 13-day shoot or something in the same room,
Right.
like that's
It's,
pretty intense.
Yeah, I like the most expensive thing here was probably J.K. Simmons, right?
Yeah.
And then and
Where
then
he's probably just
everything else
recording
is-
that shit from his VO booth in his house,
Right, exactly.
like over an afternoon.
Yep. Like, yeah, okay, I'll be an eldritch god. Yeah, sure, fuck it.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Pay him $1 million.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, fucking check this out. Glorious. It looks, I don't even know who's making it. I should look up who's making
Probably
it.
learn a little bit more about Glorious.
It's one
But
of
that's
those where you
okay.
see the trailer and you're like, oh, yes. Like, what does it matter? Rebecca McKendry, who, okay.
Yeah.
No slouch here. She's made, let's see, Psycho Granny.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, okay. Nothing I've seen doesn't matter. This looks fucking good.
Yeah. There's
she's
a cast
produced
of
some stuff.
5 in this movie.
What's that?
There's a cast of 5.
Yeah. No, this looks fucking great. The poster alone looks great. Everybody check out the trailer to this. Glorious. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot of fun. And then we did it.
We did it. David.
Jeff, we did it.
Dave, we did it.
Jeffrey, thank you so much
Hey,
for
glad I
going
could
on
be
this
here.
journey.
Yeah.
Do you want to plug anything?
You know, I don't know if I do a lot of shows.
Yeah, you do.
And they are dispersed over a lot of spots. But I will add that I do a great show called Jeff Has Cool Friends. It used to be called Sideshow. I left Sideshow and decided to do my own show. You can find it at patreon.com/JeffMay, and you get early uncensored episodes with bonus content. Thank you, Alex Schmidt, for letting me steal your idea for that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I do really, really great guests. A lot of them are in the nerd sector, but some of my best episodes aren't, which are really cool. There's an episode with one of my former students when I was an 8th grade teacher who now is a tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. And it's just a fascinating interview. Like, it's really fun interviews. It's something I really enjoy, love doing. You can get it for free, but you can get it at the Patreon early, uncensored with bonus shit, and it's awesome. I also do a monthly podcast with Kim Kroll called Ugh Fine, which is a month in review that's also available on the Patreon. Gamefully Unemployed, obviously, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman. You should sign up for that because that is a fun show.
It is.
It is a
I
lot
agree.
of fun. It's a fun little guy. So you can come check that out over at the Gamefully Unemployed Patreon. And if you are a member of that Patreon, thank you very much. And then I also do several shows with Adam Todd Brown on the Unpops Network, both Unpopular Opinion as well as You Don't Even Like Sports, which is a sports podcast for people that hate sports. And that should be it. I also do a live stand-up show called Mint on Card, the second Friday of every month at Blast from the Past on Magnolia in Burbank, California. It's a lot of fun. It's a free show. We get a food truck. It's a good time.
Yeah.
The end.
It is a lot of fun.
The end.
All right. I agree that it's a lot of fun. I also agree that it's a free show.
Yeah, both of those things are true.
Although, actually, no, I disagree. It's a free show because when you go to Blast from the Past, you end up buying shit.
Oh,
because you can't
so much
not.
cool shit there.
Yeah. But, thank you, Jeffrey. I guess I'll plug because Tom would be mad if I didn't. Our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. You go on there for $5 a month. You get a bunch of exclusive podcasts. You already mentioned Tom and Jeff Watch Batman. There's also Fox Mulder as a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. It's all for $5 a month. For $10 a month, you can watch movies with us on Discord every Friday night. So you sign up, you get a Discord, you jump into our Club 10, and we watch movies. We watch all sorts of movies. It's a lot of fun. So check that out. You can also review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you also go to gamefullyunemployed.com, there's a link to our t-shirt store, so check that out. All right.
Yeah.
We did it, Jeffrey.
Yeah. It's a good thing that everyone already stopped listening when we started the plugs.
I know. They just skipped right ahead. All right. Well, say goodbye.
No, I refuse.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, CORLEW, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. You can find more of his artwork at instagram.com/mvbramleyart. Our episode artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info. Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.